Hello? Oh, it's working. Okay. Okay. Hello. Hello to the 17 people watching right now. I'm just gonna take another 5 minutes for people to kind of start rolling in. These 17 people watching right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and enter your questions into the chat. While people come in, so that I can kind of get the questions ready for you, and then so I can get those lined up so the live stream can go along a lot faster, a bit more streamlined. So go ahead and answer your questions into the chat. I'll just wait here for now, and then I'll start answering questions around 7:04, 7:05. If your question is a little bit more in-depth, or you'd prefer for it to be kept private, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. My email is always open. That's cnhkc.ds1819@gmail.com. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. Right now, I'm answering any questions about serving as club secretary, maybe as lieutenant governor or leadership team member, about Key Club, or anything about serving on district board or serving as a member in general. So hello, Lindy. Hello, Lawrence. Thank you, guys. There are currently no questions in the chat, so I'm just going to wait on that. While we wait, there are some points actually I'd like to hit today before anything else. So some things that I kind of want to address. Yes, hello, 23 people. Hello, my name is Zoe Yao, serving as your district secretary. There's kind of a slight lag between my live stream and the video that you're seeing. So if I take a little while to get to your question, I'm not ignoring you. It's just kind of like a delay. So I'll get to your questions as soon as possible. So 2 more minutes for questions. If no questions come in, I'll start going into the points that I want to address. This should probably last until like 8 o'clock, give or take. If the questions kind of start to die down earlier, that's all right. And again, if your question isn't answered, or if I don't get a chance to answer it during the stream, again, my email is always open. Always Facebook message me. If you want my phone number, you can always check my emails. One thing that I want to emphasize is that if you are a club secretary right now and you are not in the Secretaries Reflector group, you should join that as soon as possible. I'm going to find that link right now for you to join. The Secretary Reflector is pretty useful. I try to send email updates whenever I can if there's any important news, if there's anything like this that's going on. So do join that Google Reflector. Let me find my groups. Okay. Again, go ahead and start sending in questions. Again, if there are no questions in the chat at the moment, I'll just go over some things, go through the Club MRF, some things that I've noticed. Yeah, so thanks for watching again. How do we get to my Google Groups? Hello, Bill. Hello, Daniel. I hope there are club secretaries on this stream, not just LTGs. But, if you're an LTG and you have a question, that's cool, too. I'm also answering any questions. Any questions at all, secretary-related questions do have priority. But really, if there's any questions you have at all, go ahead and join, enter those. So if you're not in the Secretaries Reflector group, that's the link I just sent. Please do join that. Important things going. Okay, so no questions. It's been 4 minutes. So some things, I'm just going to hit on some things that I'd like to cover right now. So first thing, obviously on-time MRF submissions. So specifically, one thing about the MRF the club MRF that I'd really like to emphasize is the member recognition program. So the MRP is a tab on the club MRF. It's a completely editable tab. So if you've been to DCON, you see those kind of boards kind of in the main general room, those boards with kind of like bronze level recognition, silver level recognition, and there's hundreds of names on that on those boards. But we're a district of 40,000 people. I think that a lot more people should be getting these different levels of recognition. So the member recognition program, it's one of the easiest ways for a member to gain recognition for the service that they do, for being an active member. A lot of the criteria for being being recognized on any bronze, silver, gold, or platinum level, that's kind of like attendance at training events, Kiwanis family events, inter-club events, division events, district events, international events, articles and visuals submitted, event or project chair, division recognition or district or recognition or workshop facilitator, um, being a club committee member, division or district convention, a committee member, serving on the club or leaders, serving on the club board, and then live save from MNT. So out of each category, for each level of recognition, there's different categories. So those are the different categories. There's a specific number of like events you have to attend, or specific, kind of position that you could hold. So, you need a specific number of those kind of like checked off out of the 13. So for example, bronze level, you'd have to fulfill 5 out of 13 of those requirements. So all of that criteria is found on the club MRF. So if you're a general member watching this, you can always ask your club secretary. If you're a club secretary watching this, you should be referencing that. So the MRP, one main concern that we kind of see is that the MRP isn't filled out year round. So, this is OTC season, secretaries, because the MRP isn't as actively promoted as it should be, secretaries aren't really aware of their responsibility to that. So they tend to fill it out at the end of the year, but they should be updating it year round. And it should be the entire club board kind of working together to update the MRP. So for example, right now it's like OTC season. So there's a category for attendance at training events. So if you're a club board member and you know that this member attended OTC, or, you should get a list of the members that have attended OTC. And then so you can, double check their attendance and then go into the MRP tab and make sure that you have manually changed, their attendance from 0 to 1, or, increase their attendance by 1, but you have to do that manually. So you should be updating it year round. If you're updating it at the end of the year, kind of around decon season, then, you're guessing the numbers, you're not really sure, for sure if they attended that service event or that, training conference. So then again, you're kind of, discrediting them if, you're not giving the credit they deserve, or you're over-crediting them. And, we want to be honest. We want to make sure that there's accountability. So it's the responsibility of the club board. To make sure that everything stays updated year-round. Okay, so Christy Wong asks, for the MRP, what are some ways that members can get the articles and visuals submitted checked off? So the general members, any member of a club should be, attending service events, attending DCMs. So they should be writing articles and visuals. The club editor, it's not the responsibility of the club editor to write the articles and visuals. So in that sense, when the members write their articles and visuals, when they submit it to the club editor, then the club editor should let the club secretary know that, oh, this member, wrote this article, or this club member submitted this visual, so you can change that in the MRP. So again, that's why it's kind of a collaborative effort between all members of the club board to make sure that you're giving credit to any member that, is an active member and completes any of the requirements for the MRP. So again, the MRP is something you should be updating year round. With any OTC or RTC or CTC that comes around, make sure that you tick that off. Or even, this also applies for kind of division-specific training events. Like I know for some divisions in my region, they do their own training conferences, like in the fall or in the winter. So those kind of count as the training conference attendance as well. So you want to make sure that, you're, as an LTG, you're communicating with the officers, and as officers, you're aware of what's going on the divisional level. So again, this is the responsibility of the entire club board. It's year round. And then so near the end of the term, around February, March, there will be a link sent out for you to submit, the MRP criteria so that they can get recognized at DCON. So just at, throughout the term, make sure that you're double checking that, you're updating it. LTGs, make sure that, when club secretaries send in their MRFs, you're making sure that they're updating the MRP year round. If they're not, make sure you send feedback to them. Secretaries, ask for feedback. Okay, so for the MRP, what qualifies as an event or project chair? Does the member have to completely organize the event, or do they just have to find it? So this is kind of a thing that we don't do so much anymore. It's kind of a more ancient kind of traditional thing. Or, some clubs still kind of have a event or project chair, which is kind of a member of the club board. So it wouldn't be necessarily that they have to completely organize the event, or they have, it's kind of more like, they kind of step in, they step up into a leadership, not necessarily into an officer position per se, but they kind of step up. You notice that they've been, helping out your vice president, helping find a service event. So it's not that they're organizing the event themselves. They can help find it, but they shouldn't just kind of, blindly Google like service events in my area and send you a link. They should be kind of like facilitating, helping out. But generally, it's kind of a gray area. And again, for most recognition levels, for all the recognition levels, you don't need all 13. So generally, for what I've seen, that's kind of one that people tend to not really fill out because it's such a gray area. So that's kind of my interpretation of it. It comes down to how your LTG would like to interpret it and maybe how your faculty advisor or your Kiwanis advisor would like to interpret it. That's just kind of like my baseline thing for that. So that's kind of my brief little spiel on the MRP. Again, we're a district of 40,000 people. A lot more people should be getting that recognition. A lot more active members should be getting that recognition. It's kind of a basic criteria. If you're an active member, you should be able to fulfill most of the categories in the MRP. As a club officer board, this kind of needs to be emphasized a lot more often, but it's that you have a responsibility to the members that you serve to, portray them accurately to the district. In that sense, maybe it's through, MRF reporting, making sure that, service hours are accurately tracked and logged, or it's through the MRP where you're giving credit to the members that you serve, the members that you have a responsibility to make sure that they're getting the recognition they deserve. So that's kind of the thing about the MRP. If you have any questions at all, you can contact your Lieutenant Governor, myself, or MR Chair Annalena Nguyen. You can find our emails on the CNH Cyber Key. So that's the thing about the MRP. If you have any questions about the MRP, later, if anything comes up, you can send your question to the chat or I'll answer it through email. Another thing, so we are currently in the summer. So the summertime is the best time, arguably the best time to prepare for the upcoming school year. Everyone, has a lot more free time. A lot more educational materials are coming out, as the district prepares for the fall, right? So a lot of educational materials are available on the CNH Cyber Key, on the Key Club International website. Your own Lieutenant Governor may be creating, useful resources for you, so you should be taking advantage of those resources. So one thing that I would really, really like to emphasize while you're promoting Key Club, while you're preparing for the new term, the new school year. Yes, you should be, trying to increase membership recruitment and retention. So remember to always emphasize that we're a service organization. Time and time again, I've seen a decrease in member activity, after events like RTC and FRN. People are kind of like, oh, Key Club's just kind of like a social club. People are just in there to make friends, which isn't true because we're one of the world's largest and oldest student-led service organization. And so, yes, kind of service for the most part is the most important thing, to us, service and leadership development. So those two hand in hand should be the main things that you're promoting while you're conducting your first club meeting, while you're, debriefing your board members, or if you're kind of, attending a DCM. When you're recruiting members, make sure that you're emphasizing that we're a service organization. Our district goal this year for service hours is 1.1 million service hours. So fingers crossed, with your help, making sure that we emphasize service and service events, we can reach that goal. So I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of resources all over, the Cyber Key and the Key Club International website. So if, you come from a club that's struggling to find service events, there are so many resources available. So for example, there's a bunch of service projects like databases. There's one on the Key Club International website. There's also the Spotlight on Service program, which is something that's conducted by the the district service projects chair. You can find a lot of really useful info guides on the CNH Cyber Key. Let me double check exactly where it is. But those info guides are incredibly useful. They're very nice to look at. I'll get back to the SOSP guide in a second. You can also ask your Lieutenant Governor. I just don't have it on hand at the moment. Okay, so what are some of the best ways I've been able to recruit new members? So actually, when I served on my club board 2 years ago, probably the best way that we were kind of able to recruit our members was actually using a bunch of like YouTube clips or clips from videos that I filmed, or some members that have filmed, and kind of putting them together, maybe using a video that someone else put together, or an official Key Club International like recruitment video. If your school kind of does like a like a TV, like a broadcast, like my school does, it's kind of like student created content. So that kind of stuff, you can send in promotional videos right at the beginning of the school year. So it's kind of like, oh, so exciting, like clips from Fall Rally and RTC and from various service events like Rose Float, where it's like, oh yes, Key Club is like all about service and leadership, and like it's super cool, you should join it. And then you have all your information. So if you can kind of use videos, because those are a lot more active, than a flyer or like an email, those would probably be the best, especially because it's being distributed to the entire student body and not just kind of stuck on a poll that some people pass. So flyers are still very useful. Something else that I found to be pretty useful. I mean, this doesn't really apply to every single club, but if you have certain friends that have a huge reach within your school, definitely ask them, even if they're not necessarily in the club. You can still ask them to help be like, through word of mouth, like, oh, join Key Club. We have this club meeting. If you're interested, you can come. We have like cookies or donuts. So at the very least, even if they're not necessarily interested about Key Club specifically, they can come for the donuts and also listen to, us talk about all the great things about Key Club in the meantime. There was one more thing that I was going to say. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've seen in the past that has been more useful for my home club specifically. And your LTG would have a lot more valuable resources and materials because, not every club's the same, not every division's the same. Your lieutenant governor knows the club better than I do. So they'll probably be they'd probably have some great insight about how to best promote your school. So Kate says that some seniors attended servicemen and you gave them hours, but they graduated last month. Do they still need to be recorded as members? Not sure if you remove them service record. You do still attend those service events because, they are still members, throughout the school year, they're still members, though they're obviously not going to be there in the fall. The service that they've done is still service. You shouldn't be taking away, you shouldn't kind of discredit them just because they're graduated. That sounded kind of rude, sorry. Just because service is still service. They did those hours. They still get the credit that they deserve. The club gets that kind of credit that they deserve. And then, so those numbers, they were still technically, still in the 2018-2019 school year. So that kind of goes into our district goals, the district numbers. Okay, so how can we keep members to stay and keep coming to meetings? It has been almost a tradition in which more than half of the members from the beginning of the year leave, especially after Fall Rally. And I deal with that. I used to deal with that same problem too in the past with my home club. So kind of for me, when I first joined Key Club, the reason I kept, staying and coming to meetings, to be quite honest, the reason I, went to meetings in the first place was because I knew that Key Club would look good on my college apps. So for the most part, because I didn't attend divisional events, that's all I was doing. I was just attending club meetings, and I was just like, I'm going to pay my dues, and then I'm, just going to stay here, put on my college apps, which a lot of people do. And then at some point, because they're not really aware of the things that go outside on the club level, on the division level or the district level, they kind of stop attending meetings. And while Fall Rally does count as a district level event, it's not really something that really shows the real Key Club, like the service that we do, the leadership that we do, and why people, stay in Key Club. So one thing that I recommend is, kind of forcing members to attend, like a DCM or a service event that's on the divisional level, because kind of staying within the club bubble, yes, that's safe, but in order to grow, in order to develop yourself as a person and as a leader, you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And if attending a division event for the first time is outside of your comfort zone, remind them that you as a club officer will be there, or if you're a general member, remind them that you'll be there. That's a friendly face for them to see. So reach out to them on the club level, kind of be friendly with them, be good friends with them on the club level, and then, extend an invitation to the next DCM or to banquet, so that they kind of see that Key Club is so much more than beyond the club level. Because for a lot of campus clubs, organizations, it's very much contained within the school itself. So they, so they kind of have this preconception that Key Club is also just like that's just that club meeting every Tuesday or something. But it's so much more than, obviously the club meeting. We have divisional level, regional level, district level, and international level. Show them, cool videos of fall rally, cool videos of like decon or even icon, which is in a few days. So just kind of emphasize education. This term, I'd really like for us to, put a new fervor behind education, because education to me is kind of the key to success. You should, if I don't know why I'm, going to this fundraiser, if I don't know why I'm going to the service event, if I don't care about improving my community, then I'm not going to be inclined to attend the service event or, go to that fundraiser. But, as a club officer, don't just kind of like stay behind, send like a link to like a PDF for them to read it, call that education. Make sure that you're communicating with your club members. For every club meeting, you talk a little bit about like, oh, maybe like PTP, or maybe this time you talk about something like serving like the Kiwanis family, something like that. At every opportunity, try to put in some education in there, because it's so cool. Like, the Kiwanis family is very interesting. Serving at Key Club is really interesting. So that to me is kind of the best way to for member retention. Of course, there's a lot more resources on the Cyber Keep member retention. You can always ask me, Treasurer Kara, or Governor Jonathan, for any questions about retention, or you can even ask your Lieutenant Governor, because again, each club is a little different, each division is a little different. So that's just kind of how it works for different people. Emphasizing service and education is the best way, in my opinion. Okay, so as we currently don't have any more questions, I'm just going to keep going down my list of things to address. This is kind of a brief thing. As a club secretary, make sure that not only are you sending your MRF to the LTG, but also to the faculty and Kiwanis advisors as well. Even if you're not, very much in touch with your Kiwanis advisor, as you should be, even if you're not very much in touch, this is a great way to kind of reach out to them, because Kiwanis advisors want to know what's going on with us. You're not bothering them. They are there to help support us and guide us and mentor us. Kiwanians are there because they want to help the student leadership the service leadership programs, which is us. So, they want to know what's going on. If there's something's kind of off, or if, you need some help, they're obviously there to help you out. Kiwanians are kind of like a treasure chest of resources. They have, they have so many connections to like service events. They know, they have experience with a lot of past club officers, a lot of experience with the issues that you may be facing. So always reach out to your Kiwanis advisors. Another thing is that, if you're a club secretary and you're kind of like, oh, like I can't handle this at the moment. Maybe I'm dealing with something with the family. Maybe I'm not, in the best place. If you have some reason that you're not, able to completely fulfill your duties as club secretary, make sure that you communicate that with the Lieutenant Governor and with the other club officers on your board. Because in that way, they'll be able to step in for you. They'll be able to fill in for you, to fill out the MRF, to help, log service hours, communicate with the members, so that while you're currently not available to do that duty, and your club is still reporting accurate numbers to the district. So in that way, you're still giving credit to the members. You're still kind of keeping up with the district's numbers. So make sure that you communicate with your club board. If you're another club officer that's watching this and you know that you're struggling with MRF submission, or your club secretary is kind of MIA, then step in, communicate with the rest of your officers to make sure that the MRF gets filled out. Another thing is that let's say it's July right now, your next MRF submission should be the June tab, right? But like maybe you find out that there were 500 hours, no, not 500, like maybe 50 hours in April that weren't recorded. Don't just kind of let it slide. Make sure that you update the April tab as well as the June tab for your submission this month, and then let your Lieutenant Governor know, because little things like that add up. We have hundreds of clubs, so if every single club forgets, neglects to update the April tab for 50 hours, then that is thousands of service hours that aren't being reported, and that's thousands of hours that can make a difference. So really, any little number makes a difference. Anything that you do makes a huge difference. So again, make sure that you update MRFs from past months if you have to, because we're making sure that we're keeping an accurate log of the service hours, as we go through each term. So yeah, let your lieutenant governor know so that they can update their own tabs so I can update, the district numbers. Okay, another thing, as a club, your lieutenant governor should be reaching out to you, but you should also be reaching out to your lieutenant governors. If you're having trouble with member retention or recruitment, make sure that you're not just passively waiting for your lieutenant governor to come to you. Lieutenant governors have a lot on their plate. I understand you have a lot on your plate too. So as long as you both work together with each other, keep it civil, then you should be able to, figure out a solution, work together for, almost any problem that you're coming across. So don't just kind of leave them on red. Don't not to respond to their emails or to their texts. Help them as much as they can. Okay, so for the MRF, how do you know if the project is an organization project versus a foundation project? Now that is a very good question. So on the Club MRF, there is a section. Let me pull it up. On each monthly tab, there's a section for kind of like the type of service project. Let me pull up my own notes about that really, really quick because you should be categorizing each service event that you have. So let me pull that up really, really quick. Okay. So there's a very handy dandy guide created by our IP Service Projects Chair, Alex Gaddis, on the CNH Cyber Key. You can also ask your Lieutenant Governor for that guide. Let me just pull it up right now on my own computer, if it'll load. Okay, it's slowly opening. So the difference between an organization project with, do you mean project with other organization and a foundation project? Because project with other organization would be with any other nonprofit organization, like maybe Red Cross or Interact, organizations like that. So for the foundation project, that would be, oh my goodness. Sorry, my PowerPoint is kind of slow at the moment. Okay, but a foundation project would be any event that is consistent with the goals and aims of the CNH Foundation. So that would be PTP. Sorry, that took so long. But yeah, so that's kind of the difference. So I'm just actually, might as well just kind of go through the different categories of the different projects. I already covered this with the lieutenant governors. But just for now, I'm just going to go through the different ones. So on the MRF, you'll see that there's a bunch of different projects. It's kind of overwhelming at first. The service project, that's kind of self-explanatory. Project benefits club, that would be like a fundraiser or social, just any non-service event. Ongoing project is like a daily, weekly, or monthly project. Like if every week, you're doing recycling for your school, then that would be an ongoing project. A division project, that's something from your division. District project, we don't really have too many of those, but that would kind of be like the Service Expo at Decon. There's also Governor's Project Focus, which is our 2017-2019 Governor's Project is Be Clean CNH, which focuses on improving the environment, ecosystem, being green, friendly, that kind of thing. Project with other organization, that's any other nonprofit organization. Major emphasis focus is anything that's consistent with our international major emphasis, which is children, their future, our focus. So that's anything like volunteering at a children's hospital, making cards for, children in hospitals, arts and crafts with kids, things like that. Project with a Kiwanis sponsor. So that's anything with your club's specific sponsoring Kiwanis club. And then there's also joint project hosted with Kiwanis, and that's any event that's hosted with any Kiwanis club, not necessarily specifically yours. Project with any Kiwanis family member, that's any other branch of the Kiwanis family, and foundation project is something that kind of goes hand in hand with PTP. So those are the different projects that that are on the Club MRF that you can kind of mark off. Make sure that you're filling that out as much as you can. So on the subject of kind of filling things out as much as you can, as club secretary, you should be doing your, everything in your power to make sure that every single, cell that you can fill out, any like category they can fill out, anything that, you can fill out, you should be filling out. And that doesn't mean that, oh, I don't have this contact information for my Kiwanis advisor, I'm just going to leave it blank. That's not, filling out as much as you can. if you don't have the contact information for one of your Kiwanis advisors, don't just sit back and leave it blank for the entire term. Make sure that you're actively reaching out to your lieutenant governor to ask for that contact information, attending a Kiwanis DCM or, a Kiwanis club meeting to get that contact information. So you should be actively working to fill out the MRF. Like your lieutenant governor should not be receiving, empty MRFs. You should make sure that, any contact information you can fill out, any information about like club meetings, attendance at events, any of that information is filled out. You should kind of every month go through, the monthly tab, your directory, your, service projects tab. Make sure you go through those tabs and kind of scroll through, double check that everything is as filled out as you can. Make sure you're marking X when you're supposed to, or Y or N when you're supposed to, those kinds of things. So make sure that you are actively working towards a full MRF, because to me, there is nothing more beautiful than an MRF that is completely filled out, with all the numbers and the check boxes, all that good stuff. So for how do we fill out the project section and the project snapshots? So that's under the monthly tab. So, for if you are volunteering with, let's say, a local soup kitchen, under project title, you would enter, whatever the name of the soup kitchen is, total member hours, total number of members. So update the service record. So the service record should have a roster with all the club members, and then fill out, the event, the date, and then for each member that attended the event, give them their respective service hours, and then you can total those up. That's the green bar in the service record tab. So when you total that up, you can enter that into the monthly tab for the for the total member hours, and then total number of members in attendance. So you kind of have to, with every service event, you should be updating the project with the service record as well as the monthly tab. So that's kind of like, things you have to keep track of, make sure that they're kind of both accountable for each other. And then so for example, if it's with a soup kitchen, that you would mark that as a service project. So you would mark X for that. Maybe it's an ongoing project that you do every month with that. So you can mark X for that. And then, so pretty much those would kind of be the categories that those would fall under, because it doesn't necessarily count as a Kiwanis family project if you're not doing it with a member of the Kiwanis family, things like that. So it's pretty simple. If it's a fundraiser, mark it as a fundraiser, but that's just if it's a fundraiser. So things like that, it's pretty straightforward for each service project. So again, make sure that you're kind of cross-referencing between the service record and the monthly tab. They kind of help each other. They work hand in hand, so things like that. That's just kind of a brief run through of kind of the projects list. If you have any further questions about it, feel free to send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to type out an essay for that. So that's just kind of how you would fill out the project section. And for the project snapshots, let me find that. Okay. So the project snapshot, that's just kind of a brief, a very, very brief, hold on, my Excel is, okay, so you yourself wouldn't be filling out the number, like you wouldn't be filling out the hours or the funds raised. Excel does that automatically for you. So just make sure, and then the title of it transfers automatically as well. So, soup kitchen, and then you would see, if I type, soup kitchen for number 1, then that would transfer to number 1 under project snapshot. And if you completed 30 hours, then it would transfer to 30 hours, etc. For the chair, if you have, for any club officer that organized that event, or if, if your service projects chair for the club, then that would fall under that. Or if it was a division event, then that would be your lieutenant governor. You can give a brief description of the project. This is kind of more of a reference for, future secretaries, and maybe for yourself later in the term to see like, oh, this is what we did at this service event. We can maybe do this again or do this in the future, things like that. So it's kind of more of a personal transferring thing. Things like that. Something else that I'd like to cover. Let's see. Okay, so another thing is as a secretary, you want to make sure that you get the contact information from the members that you serve. So if your lieutenant governor has um, a Google Reflector group for the division, or maybe a Facebook group or something like that, then you want to make sure that you have all the club contact information. If your own club has a mailing list, you want to make sure you have that information so that club members can get any information as they can through email, maybe from the club or from the division. You can let them know to join, the reflector groups, things like that, because email is probably the most direct way that your lieutenant governor can communicate a lot of information to you at once. So you want to make sure that all the members within your club are aware and active on the divisional level. Yes. Another thing is that if your lieutenant governor reaches out to you about getting contact information for the club board, you want to make sure that you can help them as much as you can. Especially, you can also work with other secretaries in the division to help the LTG fill out their division directory, because on the LTG division MRF, they have a directory for all the club officer contact information. So make sure that you're sending him or her all that information to make sure that I can get all that information. So the executive team, the admin, your faculty advisors, anyone can contact you when they have to. So that should just be, your email. Your LTG is going to ask for your phone number. That's just for their own use. Email is going to be the best way. Another thing that you can use and promote as a club officer is using apps like Remind, or using kind of like texting apps like that to communicate with, the entire club or with the division, because Remind's kind of like a quick and easy way, kind of like, oh, this is our service event today. Remember that it's at, 9 a.m. Make sure you have your medical form, a bottle of water, things like that. Kind of like brief, short little reminders, sweet little messages like, oh, have fun at decon, things like that. Kind of like a easy way to communicate with members. I think a lot of people would prefer getting text messages rather than having to open up an email. So things like that would be pretty useful for kind of short reminders like that. Something else that I would really like to emphasize is using social media, because, it's 2018. Almost everyone's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, something like that. Social media is probably one of the quickest ways to reach out to a huge number of people in kind of a very appealing and attractive kind of way. So if you have a club social media, or if you have a division social media, make sure that you promote and follow those, especially for things like division social media, where your lieutenant governor can kind of, very similar to Remind, they can send like, quick messages. They can kind of provide recaps. And it's like really nice to have like a club Instagram where you can post photos and you can post stories and you can like kind of do promotional materials like that. Like our district Instagram, our district Twitter, things like that. We have a lot of very nice graphics created by our district leadership team, where you can kind of repost onto your division or club Instagram or Twitter and kind of get it out to kind of a more specific group of people that may not be following the district Instagram or Twitter. So things like that are pretty useful for promotion and education. One thing about social media is that you should not be conducting official business on social media. With apps like Facebook Messenger, where you're kind of like in a group chat, like an officer group chat or something, that makes sense, because maybe not everyone has like an iPhone and can be in like an iMessage group, things like that. Other, like Google Hangouts, things like that are, those are fine for communication, but official business like submissions, like, actual promotion, things like registration, information, things like that should not be conducted, through Instagram DMs or Twitter DMs. Things like that should be conducted through email or maybe through a call, things like that. But, you can use those apps for communication. Also about social media, it was inevitable that I was going to talk about this, but Safe Key is very important. So for those of you who don't know, Safe Key is kind of like our kind of way of, reminding you that you should kind of be aware of what you say on social media. Think before you click, think before you post, things like that. Because for the most part, as a club officer, as a club member, you are representing Key Club International, CNH Key Club, to, all of your followers, to all of your friends and to your family that like have you added on Facebook. Safe Key is about making sure that you're portraying yourself in our organization in the best way possible. That means like no swearing, no posting anything illegal, just general kind of common sense. It's always important to keep in mind that you never know who's watching, you never know who's following you or who can check on your posts. Like, you've heard a bunch of stories, every year as kind of admissions, college admissions come in. Every year you hear that this person, their acceptance was rescinded from like Harvard or something because they found that, something illegal or something was like on their Twitter or on their Facebook. Things like that really can jeopardize your career, your social life even. So things like that, just be careful what you say. So safety is kind of like a serious topic, but it's always something that we have to be considerate of. Always, make sure that you're checking yourself, that you're checking other people, especially as club officers, because you are a role model to the members that you serve. You are a club representative on the division level. So, for any other officers that are seeing, what you post, and to them, you are representing the club. So you want to make sure that you're doing justice to the members that you serve and to the club that you serve. Let's see. So another thing is our CNH Cyber Key that we can talk about a little bit. So the CNH Cyber Key, that's just kind of our little name for the CNH district website. So that's cnhkeyclub.org. On this CNH Cyber Key, you can find so many resources for all kinds of things that you might need. You need an officer manual, that's right there under members. You need ideas for service projects. I will find that in a second. If you want to check out our district newsletter, then you can check that out. Also, if you want to check out like registration for decon or icon, then you can check that out as well. If you ever have any questions at all, you can probably find those answers on the CNH Cyber Key. We have a bunch of reminders, a bunch of dates, you can find fall rally information on there, decon information on there. You can even find dues information on there. So there's so many things that you can find there. There's training, there's contests, all that good stuff. Okay, so speaking of contests, along with the member recognition program, there's something called the AAR, which I need to double check that. The annual achievement report. It's a number that's found on your annual report tab. It's kind of like a summation, a formula almost of your entire term. So this data will be sent to the district. So all this information, that number will be sent to the district. It kind of reflects your success and your progress as a club. It's kind of all about ratios and proportions. So, don't be concerned if you're a club of 20 people, and you think that you're not going to get as high as a number because you're such a small club. It's all about ratios and proportions. So the AAR score is calculated as long as you fill out everything, that you can each month. If you leave something blank, that is something that doesn't go into the AAR. So you want to make sure that you're updating everything that you can, you're crediting everything that you can, you're completing as many hours as you can. So with that, your AAR score increases. Things like that, and you get recognition for that. So make sure that you are aware of that. Make sure that you're not doing this on Google Sheets because that messes with the AAR report. And so this live stream will be uploaded as a video, not to this channel, but to the CNH Key Club channel. So I'll download this and then it'll be uploaded to the CNH Key Club channel so that you can always reference that in the future. Again, my email is also open if you have any questions that may not have been answered here. So yeah. Another thing, as a club secretary, you should be actively reaching out to the members to get those service hours, to get the service event hours that they've attended. Again, you shouldn't be waiting for them to come to you. You want to be actively reaching out, proactively communicating with the members. If you're at a service event, you can create a sign-up sheet. You can create a Google Docs for RSVP to a service event, things like that. So you have a general idea of who attended which service event and the hours that they get for that. So things like that, you can always, cross-reference, make sure that you're actively reaching out to them. If you know that this person attended, that soup kitchen event, but they didn't come to talk to you about it, that doesn't mean you leave it blank because they still completed those service hours and you need to give them the credit that they deserve. So you should be actively reaching out to them. If you are a larger club, you can put together kind of a more efficient system for that, a sign-in sheet Google Docs, or you can keep your own your own personal spreadsheet for that, so that you're making sure that any and all hours are accounted for. So those are kind of the things that I wanted to cover personally. Are there any questions? Are there any lingering questions at all about anything? Let me see if there was. Oh yes, I was actually going to cover the district newsletter. So the district newsletter is a very, very useful resource. You've probably seen newsletters from your own division, from your division's DNA, but there's also, the district newsletter, which kind of has a lot more information that applies to things on a larger scale. Has a wider scope. So the district newsletter has a bunch of useful info guides from our district committees, a bunch of useful reminders about events. So the most recent district newsletter was just published yesterday. And you know what? Let me get a link to that because it is very nice. It was created by our district newsletter news editor, Jenny Chen. So it's super pretty. It's called the Beeline. Your district committee chairs, your D&E, everybody on the district leadership team, your lieutenant governor comes together to help kind of create this publication. So it's a kind of a, what's the word? I don't know. It's kind of, a project that we all kind of contribute to. We want to make sure that you get all the information that you can. So how do you do the annual report? Most of the data from the annual report actually automatically transfers over. So you don't really have to look at that until towards the end of the year. So things like that almost automatically transfer over. You want to make sure that you fill out task 1, which is the second tab. You want to make sure you fill out task 1 as much as you can. The annual report, again, it automatically transfers over. There are directions on the annual report tab. So it says that if each monthly report is completed and certain prompts are appropriately answered, you will only need to complete 2 final tasks for this report. So for club reports, respond to the prompt regarding submission of the MRF. Projects list, go to the project list worksheet and sort their projects by high service hours. So just generally, for the moment, since we're still very early in the term, you don't really need to worry about the annual report tab because, again, most of it automatically transfers over. As the end of the term nears and you have to submit your AAR number, then you would be concentrating on the annual report tab, but those are just all the things that are kind of are more emphasized at the end of the term. And then, around then, I'll be available. I mean, I'm available year round, but, specifically then I'll be available to answer any questions about the annual report tab. Yes, so that's everything I wanted to cover. So there's the link to the CNH district newsletter. Make sure you follow issue, our CNH Key Club issue. For those of you who didn't catch this earlier, I'm going to resend the link to join our club secretaries Google Reflector, where I send a lot of reminders to club secretaries. A lot of other district chairs, our district editors, our other executives also send emails to the secretaries Google group. So that's for you to get our district level updates and our district level recognition, things for that. And that's all I have prepared to cover today. If there's anything else, feel free to send it in right now. Let's see. Also, as a club secretary, make sure that you're getting feedback from your lieutenant governors. Lieutenant governors, make sure that you're sending feedback to your club secretaries about their MRFs, so you can kind of correct things that, maybe there's a corrupt file, with the MRF, or maybe there's something that was incorrectly filled out in the MRF. So as long as you kind of correct those in time, then you should be able to, complete the MRF a lot better and things will be a lot easier. So make sure you're getting feedback, things like that. Okay. That's all I have for today. I hope in the future that I'll be able to host more live streams like this. Sorry about the kind of technical difficulty at the very beginning. The program I was using kept crashing. So, I kind of redirected to this link and I hope everybody was able to find this pretty easily. This won't happen again in the future. I hope to do more live streams in the future, hopefully do kind of like another Q&A session through different platforms and different forms of media. So I'll be able to answer any questions. So after this, I expect to see, perfect MRF submissions from, every single club in the district. I hope to see an increase in service hours. Over the summer, service attendance at service events kind of dies down, which, in a way is understandable because everyone's out to vacation. People aren't really as concerned with Key Club. So, as a club officer, make sure that you emphasize that service is year round. That soup kitchen is still going to need help throughout the summer. Maybe you're not doing recycling every week for your school, but that soup kitchen needs help. Oh, that local children's hospital needs help. So things like that are year round. Service isn't, just from August to June. It's something that happens year round. Kiwanians do it year round. Yeah, KCTC, is that the Region 17 thing? That would kind of fall under the member recognition program. That would be something that would be considered like a training event. That's technically an OTC almost. So that you would mark that as attendance at a training event. So that wouldn't count as like a project because it's not a service project that contributes any service hours, unless you did service project there. Yeah, so that's all I have. Again, my email is cnhkc.ds1819@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, my email is always open. If you really want to, you can send me a Facebook message or you can text me. My email should be my email. My phone number should be my email signature, but email is the best way to reach out to me. So I think we're gonna kind of, end things off soon, as long as nobody sends in any more questions. Then thank you, Mr. Chang. So thank you so much for coming to this Q&A. It really like means a lot to me. This is kind of like the first thing that we've kind of done like this in a while. And I want to make sure that, I'm here for any secretaries or any officers or members that, might need help with something. Again, if there's a question that you don't want to ask publicly, you can always reach out to me. So thank you so much for coming. It means a lot. Thank you for coming on your Monday night, over the summer. So thank you and goodbye.